Hello everyone, I'm here, and today we're going to look at an entire city that was carved into the rock in Turkey. The thing is, this city had a capacity of 20,000 people, so quite a large one too. But the question is, why was it built in the first place? Well, let's find out. But before we do, if you're new here, all I ask is that you hit that subscribe button to stay updated with our latest videos. And with that said, let's begin. So to kick things off, let me start by saying that modern-day Turkey is home to many amazing archaeological sites, especially considering the fact that it's located where three different continents meet. Now, due to its strategic location, throughout history, Turkey has been the home of several empires and civilizations such as the Phrygians, the Lydians, the Romans, the Byzantines, and the Ottomans, just to name a few. Each and every one of these civilizations left behind incredible structures that are still standing to this very day. In fact, there are hundreds of archaeological sites scattered all around the country. However, what I'm talking about today is a bit different. We'll get to that shortly. But first, if you're interested in visiting some of these amazing places, then be sure to check out the links below for more information. You can also learn more about Turkish culture through books. But for now, let's head over to the ancient city of Irak, located in the southwestern province of Muş. The ancient city dates back to the 7th century BC and was once the capital of an Indo-European tribe that lived in western Anatolia during the Iron Age. At its peak, the city had a population of about 20,000 people. Now, while exploring the ruins, you can see the remains of houses, workshops, temples, public baths, a theater, and an Additionally, there's also a Roman amphitheater, which could seat up to 4,000 spectators. Although much of the city is in ruins, its most impressive feature is without a doubt the monumental fountain that stands in the center of town. The fountain consists of 2 levels connected by a staircase, and is decorated with intricate carvings of mythological creatures such as griffins and dolphins. The thing is, while all of this is impressive, it doesn't answer the question of why was the city carved into the rock in the first place. Well, for that, we'll have to travel about 36 kilometers north to another archaeological site known as. Here you can find the remains of an ancient Lydian and later Roman city that was built on the slope of a mountain. Just like Eros, the city of Sagalassos was also once home to a significant number of people. According to Pliny the Elder, the city had a population of about 20,000 people during the Roman Empire. Today, however, only a handful of tourists visit this place. What makes Sagalassos so special is that it was built directly into the mountainside, and in some parts the buildings are up to 30 meters high. While exploring the city, you can see the remains of streets, houses, a theater, and other public buildings that were all carved into the mountainside. It is truly amazing to see how the locals were able to build such a complex city without the use of modern technology. So why would anyone want to live in a place like this? Well, the answer is simple. It was all about defense. By building their city on top of a mountain, the locals were able to protect themselves from invaders. In fact, during the Roman Empire, the city was never conquered by an invading force. It was until the 14th century when the Ottoman Turks captured the city that it was ever taken by force. However, the reason why they built their city in the way they did goes back even further to the earliest settlements in the region. As a matter of fact, let's take a trip back in time and explore the ancient city of Myra. Located in the ancient city of Myra dates back to the 4th century BC. And was once the capital of the Kingdom of Myra. The kingdom was founded by the Tay tribe, a small group of people who lived in the region. Due to its strategic location, the kingdom soon became an important trading partner with the Greeks, Romans, and Egyptians. By the 2nd century AD, the city had grown to become a major commercial center and was home to a variety of different cultures and people. This made the city a melting pot of cultures and ideas, but it also made it a target for invaders. So how did the people of Myra defend themselves? Well, just like the people of Sagalassos, they built their city on top of a mountain. The city was surrounded by high walls and had several towers and watchmen that kept a lookout for any potential invaders. In addition to this, the city was also protected by a thick forest that made it difficult for any large army to approach the city undetected. Despite its strong defenses, the city of Myra was eventually sacked by the Mongols in 1298. But before that, it was a thriving center of trade and culture for centuries. But what about the city that we saw at the beginning of the video? The one with the monumental fountain in the center of town? Well, that one was called Irak. The city was founded in the 7th century BC and was once the capital of the Aetolians, a small tribe that lived in the region. During the Roman Empire, the city was a part of the province of Asia Minor and was known for its beautiful marble quarries. These quarries were located on the outskirts of town and were used to supply marble for the construction of public buildings throughout the empire. In fact, much of the marble that was used to build the city of Istanbul, including the famous Hagia Sophia, came from these quarries. Like Sagalassos, Irakos was also built on a mountainside, and its buildings were carved directly into the rock. This made the city very defensible, and it was never captured by an invading force. However, just like Myra, Eros was eventually abandoned in the 14th century when the Ottoman Turks began to conquer the region. So in a nutshell, these cities were built in the way they were due to the need for defense. The people of each settlement were constantly at war with one another, and building their cities on top of mountains and using natural barriers such as forests allowed them to protect themselves from their enemies. However, the reason why they didn't just build their cities in the mountains is because of the lack of resources. If you look at a map of Turkey, you can see that the country is mostly mountainous with only a small portion of land suitable for farming. This meant that the people of each settlement had to make the most of the land they had available, and building their cities on top of mountains allowed them to use the limited space available to its greatest potential. In addition to this, building their cities on top of mountains also allowed them to be closer to their gods. In ancient times, the people of Turkey were polytheistic and they believed that their gods lived on top of mountains. By building their cities on top of mountains, they were able to be closer to their gods and receive their blessings. Lastly, building their cities in this manner was simply easier. The people of ancient Turkey were not stupid. They knew that building their cities in the way they did was easier than trying to build them on flat land. For example, the city of Arraios is located on the side of a hill, and its buildings are connected by a series of stairs. This made it much easier to build the city than it would have been to build it on flat land. In addition to this, the people of ancient Turkey were also very skilled engineers and architects. They were able to build structures that were not only functional but also aesthetically pleasing. So that is a quick overview of why the people of ancient Turkey built their cities in the way they did. If you want to learn more about the history of Turkey, then be sure to check out the resources below. And with that said, thank you all for watching, and I hope you learned something new.